Greetings and various assorted salutations. This is the end of course Canvas course tour for U.S. History 3 of fall 2021. Basically, this is just kind of an overview of what the course looked like and kind of talks about some of its features and functionalities. Now, you will notice right off the bat, it is very similar to my U.S. History 1 course, and that's because it shares a lot of the same assets. So this is kind of a sequel, if you want to think of it that way. Some of the features that are very similar is, for example, the welcome and course setup. Um, the welcome and course setup feature was exactly the same in both courses. And that's because I had almost no overlap in students between US 1 and US 3. And functionally, my courses run the same. I'm of the theory that we go over certain set procedures in class every day, and what changes out is the content of the course. And so this material here is more or less the same there. Additionally, classroom resources is exactly the same. It's even in the same order, as well as assignment submission protocols. These things were the same. I built them in a sandbox and I dumped them into both of my courses. I consider basically these two things to be part of my personal course templates. I use them in everything. Um, but You'll also notice in the tour, the announcements serves the same function. The announcements keep students up to date on what's going on in the course. And so you can see the last three announcements are end of course grades finalized, exit survey, gradebook finalizing. This was a reminder to make sure that have students check their grades before the end. But you're going to go into the archive of the announcements, and you can kind of see the way the course was structured. Um, but No. So you can kind of see the schedules here. There's commentaries about some of the tests. Um, but you can largely see that I do a lot of the same things over and over. Um, for the weekly announcement, I'll have the schedule that's posted from the unit page, the assignments to work on, things like that. You can see I also ran the virtual museum in this course as well. Essentially, if you're curious about the virtual museum, I'll talk about that in a separate video series, but each class got to pick the theme for their museum. And it got some entertaining results, especially with US History 3. But syllabus, same structure. The assignment master list, once again, is another concept. I tried it in both of the courses and decided I didn't like it. It wasn't practical. Because if you just scroll down here, you have all the assignments that you can list here. Or if you want to know what's actually missing, the student could click on grades and pull it up there. This chunk is the same. And so what some students found amusing, is sometimes I'd forget which course I'm teaching, and unless you saw the three or different pictures, structurally the courses look almost the same. There are a few differences though, and those are the things we'll take a look at. For example, with this course, um, there was more student choice activities. One of the weaknesses I had with U.S. History 1, and this is in the pedagogy rant, which I should be publishing. Either I've already published it or it'll be published soon. It's recorded. But one of the weaknesses I ran into with U.S. History 1 is I just simply have not taught that class a whole lot, so I didn't have a lot of materials developed in advance. And I always felt like I was playing catch up. In U.S. History 3, though, I pretty much had everything built, and it was built to a much tougher standard because I built this course. The first time I taught this course was at the height of the original pandemic, and we started on like kind of a weird schedule. There was a lot of remote learning, and so I really built the course heavily to operate remotely. And as a result, I had a lot of materials already well developed for this course. But you can kind of see the same setups, all that. But like one of the things I had is the writer's workshop. I have this for 2 units, where the students get to pick an article excerpt from some interesting topic. Um, and I just found some weird articles that I had access to and made them into a little assignment, an investigative one. Um, the other thing, let's see here, it was in the second unit. The other thing that was a bit different is I had student choice activities. I was experimenting with these, and I still have some work to do on them, and I think I may have refined it for future courses. But one of the things I had was this idea that students could choose an activity. And I had a variety of activities. Because one of the problems I think, well, one of the things that's come out of exit surveys over all the years I've been teaching is students would like some more choice in what they learn about. And with proper planning, I can provide some options, um, structured options. Because one of the other challenges too is people often say, "Oh, I want to have more options," and you ask them, "Well, what do you want to study about?" And they don't know. And the reason for that is quite simple. Why are we in school? We're in school to learn things. And if you don't know anything about a topic, but you want to pick your own subjects, it's kind of hard. And so this was designed to give you kind of a structured ability to make some choices. And so what students had to do is pick one of these activities to do. Um, we had something that went into detail about women in World War II from a more global perspective. There's some weird stuff that I found, like a training, somebody made a video on training stuff, Tuskegee Airmen interview, um, South Dakota, a soldier from South Dakota writing about their basic training experience, another Native American war war service stories. Um, and I made this an option thing, and told students, you just need to do one of them, and it can be any of them. They're all the same point values, or they will all convert to the same point values, etc. So this was quite popular, and exit surveys indicated that this was a feature that was well received. And so I hope to refine it, because the big problem I ran into it, and I can't show you because it has a lot of classified data, and blurring all that out would be tricky. But the thing that was tricky about it is I needed to figure out how to get it so that the grades would show up correctly and accurately, and make it easier to grade. Because while a lot of those assignments were easy to grade, to get them to mesh up in the grade book was tricky. And I'm hoping to refine that process. And I think the way to do it is through um, the mastery path, in Canvas, but that'll be something I talk about in probably a unit tour of a future course. Anyways, other differences with this course. Um, really, the structure is the same and the content is what changes. That's kind of the big feature here. I designed my course to be streamlined as much as possible. Likewise, it had a lot of similar problems. Students who navigated exclusively through modules would frequently find themselves lost. They would often click on modules and completely ignore the home page, which, if you look at, is a bit more streamlined. And so I factored this into future builds. This problem was not as big in US History 3, however, and part of this stems from the US History 3 students are usually juniors or seniors, whereas US History 1 is sophomores. And no one likes to admit it, but being a student is a skill set. So, I mean, you can have people who are really good at, like, they're really good at history, they're really good at science, they're really good at PE or things like that. But then there's a skill set, there's like people who are really good at being students. And so they may not like history, but they're always in the A's and B's. They may not like science, but they're always in the A's and B's because they have those skills. And what I've observed is experience is the only way to build those skills. And so as a result, my US History 3 class ran much smoother, because you had students with more experience who were more used to looking at coursework in general and figuring out what to do next. So all in all, I'd say the US History 3 course ran really well. The big problems I ran into was streamlining the student choice grading portion. And I think I will fix that in a future build of the course because I will be teaching this course again in spring 2022. So in any case, I think I will wrap up this tour. It's a bit shorter, but if you are curious as to the structure of this course, you should check out the other video or because I just don't change things much from system to system. In any case, until later.